manifesting? This is a question that I received from someone on Instagram, and the specific question was about how to have faith while going through the ups and downs when manifesting something specific. So I'm going to first talk about faith in general while manifesting and while going through ups and downs in life. And I'm also going to touch on while manifesting something specific. But I can say already that it's not so different whether you're manifesting something specific or something not so specific. I mean, that's even a question of how you define these things. It's always something specific in a way. So before I jump into the video, I want to remind you that if you're looking for support on your journey, there are plenty of links down below connecting you to my services, my coaching, my meditations, workshops, and also my Instagram account where you will find lots and lots and lots of value and a bigger community as well. All right, that being said, let's get started. I've prepared some notes, which I'm usually not doing, but I was thinking there are a few points that I want to touch on when speaking about faith. And well, if you see me looking in that direction, I'm making sure that I don't forget anything that came to my mind. All right, first things first. I mean, actually, the points I'm going to touch on are not in any particular order, so all of them are equally important. One thing that you're going to see on your journey, and that makes a lot of sense, is that faith, easy faith, faith that you can easily access, comes from experience. So as you're asking this question, I suppose that either maybe you haven't manifested consciously so much, like for the person that asked this question, or if you're having this question, or maybe you have already manifested, but you are currently in a state where you're doubting your manifestation. Yeah, so one thing that I want to remind you is that the more you are manifesting and the more you've already manifested, it can be helpful to think back to those times and remember that the law already worked for you and kind of allow yourself to draw upon your own experience to have to create that faith that you want to experience while you're manifesting something. It happens to me. I've already manifested many things, but sometimes I can fall into a state where I feel more doubtful or I feel more connected to my conditioning and I feel less faithful. And it's like in that moment, I'm forgetting that I've already manifested so much. And yeah, it's just in that state, it doesn't really exist. So what I do is I am trying to remember the times that I did already manifest that same thing or something related or anything. And when I do that, I remember, you know what? It actually makes so much sense that this works because it already worked before and there's really no reason to doubt it. Now, if you haven't already consciously manifested, then maybe you don't have that experience to draw upon. But don't worry, you can still have faith. And the way I did when I did it when I first manifested, I remember I don't remember when that was that I consciously remember my thought process and I started manifesting without having the experience with the law of assumption. But what I remember is that I had this feeling within me and I was finding that faith within me for no particular reason other than this intuition of why wouldn't I get what I want? That was the feeling. Why? Like there are two possibilities. Either you don't get what you want or you get what you want. Either you don't manifest or you manifest. So let's say there's a 50-50 chance of one or the other being true. If you don't have experience with that, like let's say you want something, you're not even thinking about manifesting, but you just think, I want to have my dream job. Either I will not get it eventually or I will get it eventually. If both options are equally possible, why would I not go for that possibility of, yeah, I will get my dream job eventually. I will succeed eventually. Like, why not? And that's where I want to touch on, like, when it comes to finding that inner faith, we are naturally born to believe in ourselves. That's what I think, is that we're not born to disbelieve. Like, you see that in children, that children, when they grow up in kind of healthy environments, they believe in themselves. But what happens to most of us is that we are trained to be not only rational, but hyper rational. We are indoctrinated with a conditioning that makes us think in a very linear way and makes us question really higher possibilities. We're really trained to go through the education system and then either study or get a job immediately, or follow a certain pathway. And yeah, we really trained that that is good. Walking through that linear path is good. But like how that trains us is that we are kind of trained to see limited possibilities. But you have a faith in you already that is deeper than that. That was there before all of that education and conditioning and programming and partially very negative and limited programming was put into you. And I want to encourage you to reconnect back to that faith. Maybe you have had some experiences in the past, some synchronistic experiences, or some experiences that felt magical or that were mind blowing or mind opening. I want you to remember those experiences and to draw on them for your faith. And even if you haven't had such experiences ever before, I want you to allow yourself to wonder, why wouldn't I get what I want? Why would I be here, put on this planet? Where do I even come from to begin with? Because with linear thinking can't really explain it. How does something get created from nothing? And I know that there are theories, but in the end, with logic, we cannot explain why everything exists. You cannot really logically explain that, because with logic there must be a beginning. And how can there be a beginning if there's nothing prior to that? Like, how can so much be created from nothing? Again, there are theories, but for me, they always, like, the answer to that is paradoxical, and it helps me reconnect back to thinking in a non-linear way, and that reconnects me with the mystery of life and with consciousness itself and with conscious creation. So all that to say is, why would you be here, put on this planet, having this desire, if you were not able to have it, if you're not meant to experience fulfillment? And for me also, another part that gives me very much faith is, if I can go there in my mind, and if I can feed my mind with that reality, why wouldn't I be able to experience that in my physical reality? Why not? And we don't have to start talking about like really things that seem super impossible. We can talk about that in another video. That's not the topic of today's video. But like, if you think about things like relationships, a job, health, career, your business, your appearance, like, why wouldn't you be able to feel complete and feel like you have your wish fulfilled? Why not? There's really no reason other than negative conditioning. And that is something else that can help you have faith. Is, first I talked about not being so rational. Now I talk about really using your logic to explain to yourself why you can be faithful. And logically, you could start reading about the science of why manifestation works. Read about the subconscious mind, read about building new neural pathways. It's really literally proven that you can change your brain by feeding it different information, and you can reprogram your subconscious mind. And there's tons of research about how new neural pathways are formed. So I suggest, if you struggle with finding that inner faith, well, then read about the science of neural pathways and how your brain is transformed, and how that helps you filter different information from your reality and makes it literally change and transform and shift and experience your reality differently. Like, there is science about that, that when you keep thinking new thoughts, new pathways are being built in your brain. You're starting to believe something different, and the more dominant that becomes, the more you're filtering your reality through your new beliefs. Yeah. So no matter which way you want to go, maybe you want to try to find faith and to feel faith in all these different ways. But I am really, really sure that you're going to find that inner faith. And another version that comes to my mind right now is to affirm for and feel into the possibility of you being more faithful. Yeah, just by asking yourself, how would it feel to be more faithful? Can you imagine or consider a version of yourself that is a little more faithful and a little less doubtful? Doesn't it make sense to you that the more you're affirming for something, the less convinced you're going to be of it? It's kind of logical. So start assuming a version of yourself that is faithful, that is connected to the magic of life, that feels connected to themselves. Start to envision the version of yourself that is lit up from within. And I'm sure that you're going to find faith. And last but not least, it's okay if sometimes you don't feel the faith and you don't feel so convinced. Keep on doing your practices, keep on showing up. I think it's great to be in a state of being faithful. And sometimes a part of that is doing your practices even when you're not so faithful. When I start manifesting something new, or when I start manifesting anything, at the beginning, I'm not always super faithful. Sometimes I'm like, how will that work? Is that even possible for me? That's just my conditioning. I know that it's possible, but my conditioning will say that. And then I'm just starting to do the techniques, and my mind starts to get on board with them. And in time, I'm becoming more and more and more and more and more faithful, because my subconscious mind starts to accept the new beliefs. So as you can see, there are tons of ways how you can build faith. Now, the question my follower asked was specifically about how to build faith during the ups and downs of life when you're manifesting something specific. When you're manifesting something specific, it's the same thing. Like, you build faith in all the ways, in all the same ways that I've described. There is no real difference when you're manifesting something specific, other than, well, what I could say is, if you are lacking faith in something specific, you could, one, first manifest a little more general and then get more specific and build faith that way. Or two, build your belief in your ability to manifest something specific. Because sometimes we are maybe very good at manifesting general wealth or love or abundance or health, but with the specific things we're still struggling. Well, maybe it's because you're not saturated enough in a specific reality, or because for some reason you believe that manifesting something specific is not possible. So you can start assuming and affirming that it is possible for me to manifest that specific thing, and build your belief in that. Alright, I'm thinking, is there anything more that I have to say about faith? And I'm pretty sure there is, but the main points that are important I have already covered. There was one thing I think that I could have added to this, but oh well. I will make another video about that when it comes back. And now I wish you a beautiful rest of your day. Keep feeding that faith, keep doing your practices, keep being disciplined, keep persisting, and you're going to see movement. Thanks so much for being here, and see you in my next video. Bye bye.